If you are someone who's been living with anxiety, especially health anxiety, for an extended amount of time, I can almost guarantee that you can relate to the following. You slowly feel like that you've finally accepted that one symptom or that one specific health scare probably was just a false alarm, and then you slowly learn to acknowledge it as a byproduct, a simple sensation resulting from your high anxiety levels. You've spent so much time researching, listening to other people's stories, getting all kinds of tests done, and simply living with that symptom for such a long period of time that you somehow naturally start to wonder if a real physical illness is even a possibility here. In your mind, you keep wondering, keep trying to convince yourself that it's just anxiety. You feel so close to accepting it, so you dig even deeper, continue your search for more comfort and more reassurance, trying your best to cover every single uncertainty. And then one day, you come out of yet another doctor's appointment, and a feeling of relief rushes through your body. It feels like a mental switch finally made that click you were waiting for. I can still remember my euphoric feeling like it was yesterday. I would rush out of the doctor's office, immediately grab my phone, my hands all jittery from the adrenaline rush, and waste no time to let my family know that I'm okay, and then everything I was worried about is now finally cleared and thankfully all over. I was convinced that this was it. That one specific test, talk, or whatever it was the missing thing I had to clarify in order to finally live a normal life again. But as you can guess, and most likely experience yourself, it was just a matter of time and I would be back to being on edge, highly anxious, and in and out of panic attacks on a regular basis again. It wouldn't even be a matter of days, but most of the time it would be just a few hours and would be back to being that huge bundle of anxiety. Even after being checked out thoroughly and clarifying every possible scenario, still, here I was, experiencing all kinds of horrifying physical symptoms. It could even be the same exact symptoms that just started to flare up again. The previous relief would turn into disaster. My mind would go into overdrive. I would start to freak out, pacing up and down my room, trying to control my racing thoughts, trying to force myself to accept anxiety again. Of course, this never worked. The only way out, the only way I could calm myself, would be to sit in front of my PC and Google the sensations I was experiencing. This time, I digged even deeper. Opened up dozens of tabs, and every single one of them loaded with horrifying illnesses or experiences. Whilst focusing on my research, I would feel this rush of stress pumping through my body. My face would be burning hot, my palms sweaty, but still, for some odd reason, I felt more at ease. My mind felt a kind of peace knowing that this or that illness could be the reason on why I was feeling the way I did. Mentally, I had made up a checklist of terrifying illnesses with all its symptoms that I would have to keep a lookout for. And guess what? The moment I had enough and stood up, I would constantly be on the lookout, on the search for other hints, other sensations that would give me a clear signal of what my next steps would have to be. So let's say I've had this numbness which I used to relate to a heart attack. Well, now I believed it could actually be a sign of a stroke because, you know, my heart was proven to be alright. Over the days, I became so hypersensitive to numbness and all the other related things. Because of my fear of a stroke, I would suddenly have all kinds of sensations everywhere. Places in which symptoms never occurred before now felt weird and kind of off. It was like every symptom I had on my checklist was suddenly there. So as the sensations accumulated, I started to really convince myself that I was having strokes or some other neurological disease. With this new conviction, the whole odyssey of seeking doctor's appointments and reassurance started all over again. I was just right back to where I started from. This cycle was my life for at least 4 years. That's why, guys, I know I say it a lot on this channel, but really trust me on this one. There is nothing external that you can hear, read, or simply stumble upon that will make anxiety go away. You're simply too stressed, too caught up in this anxiety cycle, that there is nothing out there that can just make it stop. After hearing some great news, you might feel some relief, but that isn't going to last long enough to get your stress levels lowered to where they should be. You will constantly jump from one symptom to the next, from one worry to the next, if you do not manage your underlying stress levels. It's just the way anxiety works. You are in an overwhelmed, overstimulated state. In a state like this, you will always be frightened, all on the side of caution, and overthink even the tiniest things. And that, all in the name of keeping you safe. Guys, I'm not a medical professional of any sort, and I can only speak from my own personal experiences. But the moment I gave up on getting everything I worried about checked out, The moment I was so fed up of hearing that I was completely fine over and over again was the point at which I gained momentum and motivation to concentrate on improving my overall quality of life. You can check out this playlist to find out more about my recovery approach. I'm not saying that there isn't anything you can do to find a little bit of short-term relief, because of course there are. Breathing exercises, screaming on top of your lungs, progressive muscle relaxation, massages, journaling, and even yoga can definitely help calm you from a panic attack. But if these are only used when facing panic and anxiety, it will always just be a coping mechanism. What your ultimate goal for long-term recovery should be is not only having great coping mechanisms in place, but you want them to be an integral part of your daily routine. But most importantly, you will need to form a life that is fulfilling and has goals that you strive for, short and long term. And by goals, I'm not talking about wanting to recover from anxiety. No, I'm talking about goals that make you a better and happier person, like being fit and healthy, quitting the job you might hate, and doing something that has meaning to you. It might sound silly now, but these are the things that will ultimately lower your stress, and in return, you won't even need to rely on coping mechanisms all the time. I'm going to be brutally honest here. When I started to recover, mentally, I was not sure if it was anxiety. I was actually pretty far from acknowledging it. I had just given up on myself, and given up the quest to find an answer for all of this. It was kind of like I was rolling the dice and let fate decide what was going to happen to me. I was exhausted and even depressed at times, but still worked on the things I knew would bring me closer to my goals. Over time, I've regained energy, had a lot less panic attacks, and overall felt more at ease. That was the point in which it all started to snowball, and recovery was just really around the corner. What I'm trying to say is that you will never feel mentally prepared, or at the stage at which you will say, okay, it's anxiety, now I've just got to work on this or that. Nope. I truly believe that you cannot accept anxiety, but you will have to accept uncertainty, and still do what you have to do. By doing this, you naturally lower stress, and your rational brain comes back to life, and tells you what is going on. Thanks for watching, everyone, and if you're new here and want to see more anxiety related content just like this one, consider subscribing.